Good morning. It's Lippy with Gemini Homestead. I got a good recipe today. Pretty fast. And we're going to change it up and make it fall-like flavors. This is just something I'm going to do on this recipe. It came to my mind and I said, let's change this up. It's an early 1970s recipe. And it called originally for the old yellow cake mixes that had the pudding in it. Now, I've not been able to find the original yellow cake mixes that had pudding in it. So I'm just using the butter recipe. The yellow cake mix and the red box. It's the butter recipe. But you're going to start off with a 9x13 grease pan. Preheat your oven to 350. Let's get started. Now, I like to do wet first. So we're going to start off with a cup of milk. Simple, simple, simple. Now, in the 70s, they used buttermilk, so you can substitute this for buttermilk. I'm just going to use just a cup of milk. Then I'm going to use 3/4 cup of vegetable oil. This is going to be so good. And we've got 4 large eggs. Going in. And I always like a plate to the side. That way any drippings is not on the counter. This is going to be the first step. Okay, we're just going to turn it down on low. All I'm trying to do is incorporate this before I add my cake mix. Because we've got one more step, but we're not going to use the mixer for it. And then I think I'm going to put like an orange glaze on it. Kind of bring out the color of fall a little bit. Okay? Now, I didn't lock my KitchenAid. I'm not doing anything that's going to really, make it bounce. But the proper rule of thumb is to make sure you lock it. But I have a tendency not to do that. All right, now we're going to go in with cake mix. And it's just one standard bag buttercream yellow cake mix. And we're going to get this blending. Start off on low. If not, it's going to be everywhere. And then I'm going to move it up to a medium speed once I make sure that all the flour has been incorporated. All right, here we go. Now, you don't want to overbeat any cake recipe. You want the lumps out, but if you overbeat on a high speed, it's going to bring in my opinion, it brings too much air. So then once it rises, it tends to fall in the middle, because usually your middle is the last thing that cooks out. So I try not to put my cake mixes on high. So if you have a KitchenAid, it's on the number 2. So 1 is always stirred, number 2 is the start of a mix. Now, turn that off for a second. You can add vanilla extract. If you happen to have vanilla paste, it's a lot stronger, but oh, it is so good. And you'll see, if I'm going to judge, I would say on a liquid dropper, you might have 5 drops. Very, very, very concentrated. But I think it's going to give it a little bit more depth of flavor than just using vanilla extract, but you can. And if it was vanilla extract, it would be a teaspoon. And we're just going to kind of get this mixed in, because it's almost done. The cake's almost done. Because the next step, you're going to be folding. That's good and incorporated. Okay, I'm going to let that drip down while I'm mixing this up. Now, this is where we've stopped at the mixer, y'all. We're going to do 1 cup of brown sugar. I'm using a 1/4 of a cup measuring. And as you can see, I'm not really packing it. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. But you're really supposed to pack it down. But I can pretty well eyeball it. So that was 1 cup of brown sugar. This is where the flavors come in. The original recipe would have called for just a cup of brown sugar and 3 teaspoons of cinnamon. I'm going to add to this. Remember, we're trying to go some fall flavors. So that's 1. It's got a lot of cinnamon. If you don't like a lot of cinnamon, you could cut it back. But the original recipe was 3 teaspoons. There's 2. And there's 3. Okay? So there's the cinnamon. Now, we're going to add just a little bit of pumpkin spice. I'm not even going to measure this. I'm just kind of going off the cuff right now. It just made sense to me. So I'm just going to sprinkle just a little bit of pumpkin pie spice. Not much. And I'm also going to grate a little bit of nutmeg. And the nutmeg I use is always in a whole clove. You can use powder, just be very careful, a pinch. Nutmeg is one of those things you love or you don't. So if you have family members that don't like nutmeg, just leave it out. There might be a little bit in the pumpkin spice, but it's not, pumpkin pie spice, but it's not going to mess it up. So I'm just going to come in here and grate just a little bit. Because you can't take the nutmeg out, y'all. So you want to be very, very cautious with it. Okay. So I'm going to get this kind of mixed up in here. Because this is where we're going to fold it into the cake. You don't want to mix this into the cake. Because it's going to have, by folding it, it's actually going to have the center of like a honey bun consistency with the cinnamon swirls. Kind of like a cinnamon roll. See, I told y'all this is easy. Okay, let's get this down. I'm going to set this underneath. See, there's a method to my madness. It just helps with cleanup. All right, I'm just going to come in here and dump it, y'all. That's all I'm going to do is dump it. And then I'm going to gently fold this in. Because I actually really wanted to take on that swirl. So you're going to be seeing kind of bits and pieces of that brown sugar. And that's what you want. And then we'll have a icing glaze. But like I say, I'm going to tint it with some food coloring just to bring in that fall look. I sure wish I could get my camera up here to show you. But it's going to have a swirl to it. I don't know if y'all can, you probably can't even see it. Maybe if I come down like this. It's literally got that swirl look. Because I'm folding it in. And that's all you want to do. Okay, we're done. It's going to go in a 9 by 13 pan. It's going to bake on 350. And the original recipe said 40 minutes. But when I've made it before, it's cooked in 35. So you're going to have to really judge. Of course, everybody knows judge it with a toothpick. It's no different than any other cake. I remember as a kid, when Mama would make a cake, she'd let us kids, well, I say kids, I was the only one at home. My brother and sister was adults when I came along. But I had a niece and nephew that I grew up with. They were like my siblings. And we'd get to lick the beaters off the mixer. I don't know what's changed, but you can't do that now. You couldn't pay me to do that. Like I say, I don't know. Maybe we just didn't know, back then. But I'm going to get this in the oven. And as it's cooking, I'll go ahead and get everything else ready. We'll mix up our glaze, pour it on there. And this is going to be one y'all got to try for the holidays. Okay, we're back. 35 minutes for my oven. It is gorgeous, y'all. I figure since we're going to do the fall theme, I just kind of shift the camera around and show y'all some of our fall decorations. But the glaze is easy. Like I said, I'm going to change it up. I'm going to add a little bit of hint of color. But I'm going to poke holes in this cake. And I'm going to use the back of a wooden spoon. I'm not going to go down too hard. I just want to do just a couple of little holes to make that icing kind of go through the cake. Now, you want your cake hot. I'm not going too deep. Because all you're trying to do is get some air into this cake. The icing will find its way down. And that's all I did. Okay? I've got a cup of powdered sugar. We're going to go in with 3 tablespoons of milk. If you don't want to use milk, you could use water. I'm going to go in with, I normally use a tablespoon, but I like a lot of vanilla. So I'm going to do a tablespoon of vanilla. Okay? And then we're going to get this mixed up because we're just forming a glaze. And now, I think I want to go orange. So in order to do orange, you need 3 drops of red food coloring. And you're going to need, let's see, I think it's what, 4 guys? It's 4 or 5? 4. Yep, 3 and 4. I had to think about that. Yellow, I think it's 4. I'll know here in a minute. It could be 5, but I want to say it's 4. Right now it's peachy color. Now it's turning orange. And it's going to be thick, y'all, because, you know, once it hits that hot cake, it's going to thin it out anyway. Oh, I love that color. But I am going to add another drop of yellow. I think maybe 2 drops. Because it's a little bit too much on the peach side. There we go. And like I say, I'm just changing it up. Now we're just going to kind of just lightly pour it over there. And then I'm just going to smear it in with the back of my whisk. I'm just going to make like little lines across it. And then I'll blend it in. Because it's very thick. I just don't like a runny glaze. Now you can add a little bit more milk if you like, or water, whatever you're using. I like it on the thicker side. To me, I don't know, it almost makes that little hard icing texture. And you know, really the only time I bake is at the holidays in the fall. If we're going to have anything as a treat in the spring or summer, I'll do like a fruit cobbler. We love to grill, so if there's fresh fruit, we'll just put like peaches or plums or something on the grill. And I mean, that's our sweetness. But in the fall, I don't know if it's the weather change and the holidays, you start getting that little sweet tooth. And like I say, you can use a spatula, but I just don't feel like going to the drawer and getting it. This is going to work just fine. Now you could double your icing if you wanted to. You know what? I'm going to eat my words. I am going to go get that spatula. Hold on a minute. Whoops. Now that was almost a mess. I'm just using the lid to my cake pan as my little tabletop. There again, no mess. Yeah, that's going to work out better. And all I'm going to do is just lightly smear this around. It's a very pretty cake, and you saw that it's a very easy cake. And I think it's going to be cool for 3 o'clock coffee. I think the chef needs the first slice, don't y'all? Well, whether I do or not, I'm going to steal it. Okay. I could actually lick this bowl. Nope, we got a little spot right here, y'all. Let's get that in there. There we go. Does not have to be perfect, because you're just adding a little bit of sweetness to it. Because it's almost got the consistency. It's not really dense like a pound cake, but it's not really a soft break apart birthday cake, I guess. I'm not what you call the professional baker. I get by. Simple, home ingredients. Or if you're like me and you find those box cake mixes on sale for 75 cents, you tend to Look at the expiration date and you stock up because you never know. I even make cookies out of cake mix. So, here it is, y'all. We're going to call it spiced honey bun cake. Might have just come up with a new name. But I hope you try it. Let me know. I'm just tickled. At the end of the video, I will post a picture of the first slice. But until next time, God bless you.